What is up, my friends? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. And this is work you can find over at MMA Junkie, as well as the ActionNetwork.com. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, hopefully it's for the fight recording, somewhat at my normal time, normally late as usual. But yes, we're recording, a Thursday evening, West Coast Pacific time here, Las Vegas time for, of course, UFC Vegas 85, UFC Fight Night 235, UFC Fight Night Dolidze, Imavov, whatever, it's another Apex card, folks. It's another middleweight headlined Apex card, but we're here for it. Gonna break it down from top to bottom. Thank you. Apologies for being late. Thanks for piling in. Hit the like button, even though I don't deserve it. All that good stuff. Do whatever you want. If you're listening in the future, if it's through iTunes, by the way, 5-star ratings and reviews, support what you like. It really does mean a lot, folks. Because, whether it's nobodies like me or top level guys like Yannick, it's clear that, it's just cutting through the mud is, it wears on you. So you want something around, to stick around, do your part, vote with your clicks and all that stuff. You don't even have to spend any money. This program, of course, is for free. You can check the timestamps like I was saying if you want to fast forward and jump to the breakdowns, which we usually do from top to bottom, and I will have timestamped out for you guys. The nice ones on YouTube here. Hello, everybody. We're live. Of course, if you're live, I appreciate you even more because you can't fast forward. It's not like Christopher Walken and click. Sorry, I'm not going to suffer that and add to the whatever that Tosh.0 thing was, or the Asians do the best Christopher Walken. I didn't realize that, but we'll take it, I guess. It's crazy. But listen, we're here to break down some fights. And we're going to just do a quick recap. It's always like a, beating a dead horse, so despite my lengthiness, I try to get through as fast as possible on a normal week, but it's been 2 weeks since the last normal show. Shout out to my guy, Dan Levy. Hopefully you guys dug, the top 5 shows in the off week. I have been pretty good about those, despite everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We did top 5 UFC championship performances. I had to bump that for a top 10 to the Evergreen article, truncated version there I did. Not really truncated, I bumped it to a top 10. You know what I mean, the written version. Keep an eye out for MMA Junkie on that one. Also redoing light heavyweight fights. It's kind of the busyness of this week, and then just trying to pick yourself back up and yada yada yada. So I didn't get as early of a start, so I was kind of late on everything this week. So thank you, my audience and my editors alike. But even though, as per usual, I don't, and I will come clean as per usual on what I was able to do a thorough tape study on and what I wasn't able to. And there's a lot of passer-throughs. But, whether it was good nights like we started the year off or the old reverse sweep, which, revisited us again because, we haven't had enough of those. We certainly haven't paid our penance enough of those. Not from here. No, not this podcast. No, not me. No, not Sir Bob. Regardless of the results, for what it's worth, it was pretty accurate, sadly, and as maddening as it is on the reverse sweeps, which we'll get into. But yes, we're gonna, I'm gonna give you guys what I got, and from that sense, again, regardless of results, good or bad, for what it's worth, I feel like I'm seeing the board, and I can tell you where I will probably end up. And I don't like doing that because, I don't like the idea of feeling held to. I don't feel like I'm held to. I always reserve my right to change. But at the same time, if you really do look back at it, seldom will you see like some wild kind of thing like, hey, did he switch that pick? Or if it was like some bullshit prelim pick where it's like clearly for the value kind of a deal or something like that. But usually what I say here on the show pretty stays pretty. I'm laughing at like one of the only notes that I wrote, and I'll probably still forget to say it. It's about a fighter who I am looking to possibly bet on the main card. But I'm going to get the shouts out of the way, both in-house and the ones I had written down. You guys are way too kind. Hey, speaking of my guests, Half the Battle, let's fucking go, Dan, from Dan himself. What's up, Dan? By the way, Half the Battle, make sure you check out that show and my guy Dan over there. He does a fantastic job. Was a fantastic guest, man. So I love doing those. I really do. I know we can get jaded and whatnot. And I'll tell you, those reverse sweeps really hurt. And I'm going to have to do reverse sweep insurance too. So I won't have those ready to give out since I usually don't even have my full slate. But I will essentially be finding some shape or form to not hedge every play because you can't, and why should you, but at least for the core ones where it's like, and maybe we'll just be getting creative ways to lose where, like, not only will I still have a losing night, but it'll be like 1 for 6, so I can't hit that reverse sweep, but it'll also do it in the way, just like traffic lights, not enough that I have to hit all the red lights. I have to hit fucking yellow ones and always be on, which always furthers you being on the last of the rotation, if not skipped. Again, I'll probably, jinx myself and, like, end up on a night where, like, I'm getting reverse sweeped and I start, at a certain point, I start turning and rooting against myself because I'm at this point, I'll profit more with the reverse sweep things, and it'll tease me along just right to the one bet I will hit. We'll be at the very end to where it'll be at the point where, like, I would make more money by losing than winning, so I would therefore be bummed out on a win, which would be so typical, for old Dan Tom here, and for everybody watching old Dan Tom. Look at that miserable cunt over there. Sorry, cover your ears, kids. Like, oh, that guy can't be happy. Look, he even won a bet and he still can't be, and then I get that shit on top of it, right? Again, very, very Ben Stiller Meet the Parents, or, Adam Sandler Anger Management. Movies I cannot watch because they feel too real. I am grateful, though, folks. There's plenty of grateful to be in life. I'm just talking, of course, about silly things like MMA betting or traffic lights. Circumstantial luck, because, boy, oh, boy, let me tell you. I need to get one of those dash cams, by the way, like, and have my own show. I think there could be some entertainment there. But then also, like, so people could see that I'm not crazy. Like, you guys could just, in fact, I could turn it from frustration to, like, having people to laugh along with me. Like, I can't script this shit. It's like it's like I do believe in God now, and he, like, just creates NPCs to do this too. Like, how do you explain that? Where did that person come from out of nowhere? Anyways, we're getting on a tangent here. So you can tell I got my proper t-shirt. For the spirit, the old bad luck t-shirt, I had to bust this. I think, most people have, like, winning night t-shirts. People have, like, fight day or, like, game day. Like, Tiger Woods would wear red. They have these. So I've got, like, maybe because it's just so damn thematic. Like, yeah, I've got, like, reverse sweep t-shirts. So we'll get to that. Who do I want to shout out? Oh, my guy, I'm sorry, I'm okay. I'm grateful and all that stuff. So no need. But that being said, there's a lot of you guys that are super positive and always just trying to pick me up. I wanted to shout my guy Liam, Picks Fights, who we've had on this program before. He's an awesome guy. Work with him on the Action Network. Liam, I haven't got to the rest of your messages yet, but Liam was just trying to not just pick me up because he's a positive dude, but really impart knowledge in any way that he can. And previous guests who we spoke of, Dan's very similar way. So, again, don't take the complaints and stuff in my broad brushes too seriously, especially whether it's MMA or like MMA gambling Twitter. There's plenty of good people, and I'm so grateful for you guys for just being real good people behind the scenes. Jackie Daytona on Twitter. We got Shawnee Jeffs. Tristan Drew Cook on Twitter, longtime listener. Appreciate you. Speaking of the reverse sweep idea, that comes from my guy Martin. Of course, Martin P. Shout out to Martin P. on Twitter. I was mentioning the John anything I want to push on and not get hung up. But again, I'm guilty of this too, folks. The reason why I say I'm no better. You know what I'm saying? Like Fight Night Picks was like a nice enough podcast. My guy Craig Allen. Over there, nice enough to nominate and this year podcast for awards and this and that. And Craig's been doing this thing, been on like panels with that guy since like the MMA latest days. And he actually like had a channel like that was like actually, I've done much better at being consistent despite being late in my defense. But no, he was like super consistent, actually had followers, audience and all that stuff. And like, he recently retired, I think, like a couple pay-per-views ago, and I was just talking to him too, and, he just, like, I get it, like, he's like, dude, it's so nice to, like, be able to have a life again, and, like, dude, people don't realize these things, like, oh, grind set, this, that, like, you don't understand, like, I was like a feels like weekly at this point, granted, but, when I get in my emotional states, when he's a miserable cunt, but we love him dearly, modes, like, earlier, and it was just one of those things where it was like, it wasn't even like this stupid, like, thread or some stupid bullshit thing getting me, but I'll tell you what it was, it's speaking of grind set, it's like, dude, I still do average at least one all-nighter a week just to get my stuff done, just to get it to you. And that's not even a lot. There are people that are working full-time jobs and trying to do this full-time, which is insane. And they're definitely doing their fair share too. So I'm not playing a violin. I'm not alone here. I'm just saying, like, I think people don't realize, like, how tough it is because they don't do it, or maybe they do it. And I've heard people, like, 3-4 years in, even 5 years in, get deep into it and be like, fuck the people who can't do this. I live for this shit, and then they have their mental health episode as well. Like, I had to take a break. I had to step back. Like, it's cool. We all have to do that. And I think the sooner we realize that, the better we are. But I think everybody realizes at a certain point, like, how much you kind of give. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I really do love doing this, even on the reverse sweep week. Like, this is so awesome. I'm so stoked to talk to you guys right now. So don't get it twisted. But at the same time, like, yeah, I get it too, and I'm guilty of this too, because back to my guy Craig Allen, I was like, man, that like. I was like, oh man, like I was genuinely bummed out that they stopped doing shows. Kind of like my guys, shout out to the Sound of Violence, Pulver and Chris. But at the same time, like, I absolutely get it, whether it's the space not feeling rewarding, or even when it is, like, air quote, rewarding your time, so to speak, at least in some way. Even then, it's not enough, man. Like, your happiness, your mental health is really what's most important. So sorry about that. We're gonna push on and talk fights here, folks. But yeah, hopefully you guys can get somewhat of a message from that, as I am just honestly bringing up just to shout you dudes. Miguel Class, speaking of threads and actual excellent analysis work, support him on Patreon at Mig Class. Of course, we had him on for top 5 body shot stoppages in MMA. Another fantastic episode, fantastic guest right there. I was also re-listening to top 5 light heavyweight fights from during that first pandemic summer. I had Simon Head on. Oh my God, Simon Head's such a great guest. I felt like I was listening to Kyle Mack. That's why I miss listening to Simon Head and the Brit Pack as well. Again, support what you like, folks, and stuff. Like listening to Simon, like laying some predictions that it really aged well. You go back and listen to that. Not that it surprises me, because Simon, I'm not just comparing him with the English accent to my guy Kyle Mack, but these guys are well spoken and know what they're speaking. They know their history, and that was a fantastic episode too. My guy Fenyo from the Fight Site, man, of course, check out his early prelims podcast that I shared. Has really been helping me out when I needed it. I complain about doing all this stuff by myself, but there are, I finally got to the point where I am reaching out where I can. And one of the things I needed help on with all the shakeups that happened last year was someone to pick up the thumbnail torch, and Fenyo's done that, and I laugh my ass off every time. I hope you guys appreciate what he does too, because he always puts like really cool, sneaky stuff in there. Rain Lamina in the house, the Gegard Mousasi of Looking Sassy, the Chatri Sityatong of picking WMMA fights wrong. I thought you were going to go with something dong there, to be honest. Josephine Knutson of Nora Cornholy, the last one, content creators wetry. Okay, Jesus Christ. Rhea says in Truesdale, this is a weird way for me to start, but I'm at a standstill with the UFC's treatment with Asians. On one hand, it's bad they don't recognize them. On the other hand, it's good. I know what you mean. And sure enough, they are not even announcing, even in the bio packages they send out behind the scenes, and they're going to do the same thing with the weigh-ins. There's no talk and promotion of shout out to my guy Ben the Baines Davis, talked about the just like talked about and it's great when like people with big reaches and also non-Asian like Ben will say something, because it shows it's like it's not just people like me or you talking about that. Rio says in Truesdale that we don't get cultural appropriation like UFC cringe noche. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If Asians are leading in anything, we get culture appropriated by enough in general. So I feel you, brother. Zane Dale, hi, long-time listener and first-time chatter. Appreciate that a lot. Hi, Dan. Just want to thank you for the work you put in this now Son Week. Thank you. I've just been talking bullshit this whole time so far. I really got to get to some fights here, but I appreciate you guys hanging tough with me. James Kendrick in the house. Dan, last week wasn't a good week for you betting, but I still think your analysis is on point. Top flight analysis is hard to find these days. Always grateful for your content. I appreciate that, and I really do my best to try to go and give it to you. Jin Karasu giving us to the chat. Dan, the show has taught me how to be objective when watching film. I really appreciate that. I just think it's an important lesson in general for life to try to, step outside of things, Easy to get emotional. myself included, obviously. Jin says, continues, that was me. Jin says, maybe not as good as analyzing as you or Heavy Hands boys, but enough to talk about fights intelligently. Man, if I contributed that in any percentage, Jin, that really makes me happy. Thank you. Jimmy Kudo, the enforcer, is here. It is weird for me to talk in third person like that. Don't be worried. If anybody talks in third person and breaks that trend, it's your boy here. I mean, I don't know if I'm breaking the trend for a positive. I'm not like, I don't think I'm not as delusional as Randall from Clerks 2 thinking I'm taking it back here or anything like that. But yeah, old Dan Thomas, I just did right. Like, I was talking to Luke Thomas on Twitter briefly there. He had that sweet, for that morning combat show, he had that sweet, shouts to those guys as well, but he had that sweet, was it The Big Trouble in Little China? I'm forgetting it, but I'm like, yeah, like Kurt Russell's character in that. Well, you know what, old Jax, it's like, that's what I feel like. I essentially feel like I'm that character on here, especially on episodes like these. Jimmy Kudo, Makato Kayagoku, love this show, appreciate you. Sammy Arnett, hello. Synchro Wing, hi Dan, excited to talk about fights, even though this card is mediocre. Sorry, little Mad Max Fury Road there. Synchro Wing continues, Apex era, very annoying and low quality. Yeah, this one does feel like it, although they at least kept the Joe Silva special and kept the lone low-level heavyweight fight as an opener rather than a main card special. So I got to give credit where credit's due, Sammy Arnett. I feel like guys like you and Ghost do a better job of explaining the small technical nuances in the form of UFC fighter analysis, guys. Ghost is getting his own recognition as he is due, and he is honestly getting it from more people that are more important than I, which is nice to see. So I don't want to talk like I'm special or anything like that. But I am going to say, like, man, Ghost's going to take my place here, folks. Don't be surprised if this becomes the Ghost show or something. That's the way we'll get him back on here. His YouTube's down, but I'm just going to hand him the keys to the castle. That guy's great. Let's go couple more and we'll knock this shit out, folks. James Kendrick, I watched that top 5 MMA championship performances. I want mentioned because I replied under quote tweet, not the original. Oh, that was you. Okay, all right. I must have missed you on that one, James. Because I apologize, sir. James Kendrick, longtime listener. Matt Pauly, becoming a regular Thursday night. How's it going, Mr. Tom? Thoughts on what will be the main event for 300? Would love Khamzat versus Adesanya. Yeah, I'm not too tied to it, to be honest, but I'm going to stick with my original guess that from like a Spinning Back Clip episode earlier, like a month ago. Let's sit this before it goes completely cold. And as the suspense builds, I was guessing Poatan versus Izzy at 205. We'll see. Both of them have hinted to get offers, so we'll see. James Kendrick, you know what I find frustrating? Guys like you, Jack Slack, mid-class, even Go stop posting threads because DMC, I think DCMA, but I know what you mean. Yes, while blue check mark threaders get into trouble making useless threads. Yeah, I know what you mean. And there are good threaders out there or whatever. Like, there was a good one that even one I was complaining about wasn't even a blue check, and it was like somebody who like seems like legit and is like a normal analyst person in the community. But I was like, I just did an all-nighter. And like, because I told you guys, I called it on that show. I was like, I'm going to post, I can't wait. I'm going to wait for the anniversary day of UFC 46. I love this card, right? I always talk about it. And I finally clipped that fight that just like, I don't know what's wrong. Maybe it's probably the head trauma, to be honest. But like, I don't know if it's like my weird Rogan era. I'm not even as old as him or have kids, which is what he blamed it on. But like, I don't know what it is. I will, and I said this before, like, I will get someone, especially, like, to the top 5 shows when I'm going back to watch something, even when I'm, like, clipping something, like, I will start getting teary-eyed watching it through. It's weird, especially, like, once it's edited, like, I really feel if there's music, I put music in it, like, I really get into it. And because I'm so slow, my ADD, and I suck, and all these things, it just takes me a while to do kind of everything. So it also takes me a while, so that's another reason why I end up doing these all-nighters. And so I'll do that. And then, like, with, again, I'm not talking like bad luck, woe is me or anything. Don't take me seriously, folks. I'm just talking about bad circumstantial luck. And sure enough, I will post it, and then after I post, I'll go check the timeline. And not just, this is kind of normal for everybody. You'll get the news breaking at the inconvenient time, and your shit will get washed away, whether it's good or not. And that's, like, par for the course. But, I think someone else did it on this day, and it was because, UFC 46 is connected to UFC 94, which is what was so crushing for us BJ Penn fans at the time, because it would have been so poetic to get that welterweight title on the 5-year anniversary when he took it from Hughes. And but somebody was kind of working backwards, whereas I was, and I did it in the podcast. I kind of gave you guys the thread version here. And a lot of those clips that I did edit in post, I actually edited different ones prior and had it inserted into the episode. That's another thing in this last episode, which was really frustrating. It's not for an ego thing or even a money thing, right? It's just the fact that this kind of content is not around. I don't know if those MMA on Point dudes do their version of what I do still, and shouts to them. No hate, no shade, but because it is a deal that I say myself, we all rip off of somewhere, and and God bless them. I don't know how they're able to post so much footage, because I could barely get away with a little bit without getting flagged for it. And the one thing that kept getting flagged in the videos, if you guys look, because I actually took the time not just to edit audio, which I've done before, which was a bonus for you audio listeners, but I actually took the time to edit like video clips in over where me and Dan are talking our selection, real apropos. And so it's just really upsetting. You take the time to do that. And I'm doing thumbnails, improving quality, spending money and all this stuff. And yeah, you don't get it back. So I don't know how I got off on that thing. But yeah, back to that. You might seem like, damn, why are you getting all emotional, like sensitive about someone's stupid shit? It's just one of those. It's one of those perfect storm things. It's like it's not even that alone is a big deal. It was just that particular theme at that particular point. And of course, posting at 6:46 a.m. West Coast isn't that early, because it's almost 10 a.m. over on the East Coast, right? But for a guy who fucking sleeps in, that's early. I'm staying up all night just to post that early for me. Planned it, put all that work in, and then you get beat by, I think, what was like 17 minutes. And I went for 6 hours, and it was only like me and my own podcast. I retweeted it within the first hour that other post, which was like pictures, wasn't even videos, wasn't even as informative or anything. I'm not shitting on the person. It was actually a good person in the community. But it was just I think 30 fucking retweets in the first half hour. And I'm like... And a lot of it is from the retweets from the blue check threaders, because they seem to be tight. They were almost reminding me of and again, I'm not shitting on, I completely gave the MMA gambling Twitter their shouts, but they're almost reminding me of that group. They're just getting so super bro-y, and I noticed that they all retweet each other, and some of them have stopped retweeting me. Even though I've told them, even though I've given shouts to guys like Ocelot, where I'm like, not all the blue checkers or threaders are bad. All right, don't get your butt hurt, folks. But I think a lot of them have gotten their butts hurt, to be honest, because now they're, now they don't share your boy stuff. So I think I pissed off those people. Long-winded answer about the blue checking threaders, but yeah, Pepe Silva in the house. Let's get back to this weekend, player. This weekend, the sleeve is dope. Thank you very much. Got 2 tattoos in the works. One you guys will be able to see, because it will kind of go up toward neck area. And the other one will be a sweet dog one, which I may post, but I'm honestly not going to post them after seeing fucking what you guys have been saying about Dan Hooker. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Maybe he is going through tough times. I know I've been. I'm like, fuck, last thing I'm going to do is post my fucking tattoos. I'm fucking almost 40 as it is. Come on. I mean, look at me. I'm a walking midlife crisis. I don't need that smoke. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate the positive smoke there, Pepe Silva. Let's fucking get to it. Let's knock it out. Yeah, it was a reverse sweep. We'll just cut through that real quick, and then 23 minutes. Jesus Christ. And then we'll cut through this card real quick. How about that? Okay, thank you guys for hanging with me live. We won't have to get into the particulars, because we got fucking reverse swept. So what does it mean? We started out really good. I had Jimmy flick by sub, even though I was thinking Malcolm Gordon round 2, round 3, as I usually do to fade flick, like I said. But the prices, like I also said in my defense, didn't like it. The value was on flick. Ended up switching over to that. That was one of them where, maybe I did switch, even though I really wasn't big on that one anyways. But I did need something to fill out the round robin. Ended up going flick by sub. Didn't plan like my guys in the MMA analysis. Shout out to those guys. Hit that. But, to start your night on the first fight, especially with my luck, we broke the first bet of the night streak to start the year, which was great, right? But again, Dan Tom, because of how I am, even when things are good, I'm like that for what it's worth. But yes, especially with my luck, humble, fucking, it's okay. We're gonna keep it cool. I didn't want to be too negative, but I wanted to be like, folks, I'm glad I started out on the year on a win. That's great. But let's not forget, I started and ended last year on a win too, and it was a fucking shitty year. So sure enough, then we get a good start again. I'm like, okay, this is weird. We get 2 good starts, and you guys are so awesome. I really can feel you guys cheering for me, which is another reason why it's like painful to like, I feel like I'm fucking Jens Pulver here. I'm just like, everyone gets behind him, and then I'm going to give it one more try, and then I'm like, I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to give it a try, I'm going to retire. I don't want to be the fucking, Jens Pulver. I feel like I'm already the Ben the Better, whoever that guy was. Not trying to pile on him either. I already feel like I'm that guy. I don't need to be like the Jens Pulver either, and I love Jens Pulver, and he's a badass, so of course I mean that in tongue in cheek. But yeah, like, I'm like, so everybody's like, rooting for me, and I'm like, calma, it's just, listen, first bet, we don't get anything from this. We still have to hit another thing in the round robin, but we had 3 more bullets left, and we went 1 for 1. Like, that is the best thing you can feel, right? Like, come on, at least one of these got to be hit. And again, I'm not a greedy man. I'm not asking for all. I'm not even asking for the majority. I'm just asking for 1. And like I told you guys last week, even though it wasn't like a conservative slate as far as how much I risked, like everything was kind of balanced. One thing takes care of the other, da-da-da-da. And even then, nothing's a guarantee, and I said that as much. And boy, it's like being air quote responsible, being modest, being fucking managing doing all those check boxes, it doesn't fucking matter. It's almost like I just gotta be like, I'm the fucking best, no, I'm gonna win everything, and have that fucking attitude, because that seems to be what's rewarded. But yeah, so I'm feeling pretty good at this point. I avoided putting Cachoeira in just for I think I did I don't know, I don't even think I picked her for Toutmaster, right? So yeah, I avoided that, whatever. I picked Sam Patterson, and part of me is like, even though I got reverse swept, I still don't have FOMO, because again, it's like, I picked that one right, but again, I'm not like, he was moving up in weight, and it wasn't like a big dog price. I was already overextended, but Sam Patterson hits. I'm like, well, at least my reads are on. Okay, let's keep this going. Jillian Robertson wins. Now, this is one where I really feel like I slipped on. I should have, and again, it's a lot to look at. It's a prelim WMMA fight. It's not the thing I typically target, but I do like me some Jillian Robertson, and I'm glad I stayed away from the decision, I guess, because that didn't come through. But I really looked at him like, I really should have. This was a classic. You play rounds 2 and 3. A lot of people who don't even play Dan Tom style were playing Dan Tom style. I felt like, that's really weird. Like, no one usually plays this style but me. And of course, the one time I don't play it on a fighter, I usually like to play it for. We missed that boat. Still happy for people. Still got the pick right. Whatever. Ramon Tavares, Surrey City. Glad I avoided this one. This was fun as predicted, though. And I was sympathetic to Surrey City people, even though, I'd have to watch it again, but I didn't think it was the biggest robbery. It was one of those perception ones where do the impactful moments outweigh the forward pressure, optics, and numbers and output of Surrey City. It felt like one of those classic conundrums. But, I didn't want to, again, awarding early work in the rounds, which they usually don't do, awarding counter fighters, which they usually don't do. And I don't like to lean into that hometown stuff. But yes, for what it's worth, not scoring the close rounds of the hometown fighter, that was a really good trend for a lot of our bets, but I didn't want to get too crazy with that, right? And again, and again, God forbid I actually have sympathy for other bettors out there. Dan, what are you bragging about? No one cares. The MMA gods sure as shit don't. In fact, probably makes your fucking luck worse. So sure enough, I keep my fucking mouth shut as I'm sympathetic for others and just hoping to get through, right? Because even coming off of a big win, I'm still level-headed. I'm like, listen, folks, this is crazy. We're lucky to even cash one bet, Shouldn't you reward the person with that attitude? No, of course. No. We got to fucking punish this person even more. Of course. Why not? Then, of course, Sean Woodson, Charles Jourdain. That was too close of a fight. I didn't really watch it closely, so I can't give you guys an opinion. But yes, to myself, even though I didn't want to... Yeah, and again, I'm trying to be classy and not, bring bad karma. And part of me was like, oh, I'm glad I dodged that. But I'm like, no, I don't want to. Let's just shut up, Dan. Don't tempt the MMA gods. Not that there's anything wrong with saying that, by the way. Just my weird superstition. I feel like, for obvious reasons, folks, as I'm sure you guys can see right now, I feel like I'm constantly on 2 strikes with the MMA gods. So, I am just trying not to fucking piss them off. And then you have that weird thing where, because Charles is pronounced Charles, you had the Sean Charles mix-up. Garrett Armfield defeated Brad Katona. Again, I actually had an argument, and people that didn't bet the fight people that pick the other way, maybe even Anik and like broadcasters who aren't even supposed to really give their opinions, or their opinions probably get them in more trouble, do more harm than help, obviously. And even those people were saying Katona had a chance. What does Dan Tom do? Is he doing the classic better thing where even if it's not close, I'm calling robbery, much less when it actually is? Or not even calling robbery, but complaining about it? No, what did I say? I said judges probably got it right, because you know what? It was consistent with what we saw with the Ramon Tavares fight, as far as they were awarding the counterfighter the early work opposed to the late work, and for what it's worth, the non-Canadian. I can't really get mad at that, right? Even when money is on the line, look at Dan Tom here, actually trying not to be a hypocrite. We all are, because we're human beings. I'm actually trying not to be a fucking hypocrite, keeping the same energy. God forbid, right? Losing with some class, God forbid. Not complaining, trying to actually, not just for myself, but for all you gamblers, all the stereotypes we have to wear anytime there's a loss. To where when it feels like the boy who cried wolf, when we are actually in the wrong end, because so many people cry unfairly. So I'm trying to reverse that. No, it's fine. It's fine. We got plenty else in the, we just need the biggest bet of the night, Shitara. We can even still pull through on the parlay side, because I ended up having small sprinkles in the rounds for Curtis and Katona to save us from that parlay, which, by the way, brought parlays back. Oh, was that a swing and a miss? And the round 2 and round 3s weren't close for Katona, so I'm not even going to complain that they were a cry about that. But it was annoying, because back to my analysis, you saw that it was there. He just wasn't being dogged enough. He was too happy, which Katona can do, and another reason why I'm just going to go back to staying the fuck away from him. And I stayed away from making fun of his accent, because again, I'm trying to get some good karma here. No, fuck that accent, man, and fuck betting on Katona. But yeah, if he would have pushed it harder, he could have done it. You saw Armfield gassing. It was like that crucial moment where it's like, I know you're failing on those couple clinch takedowns and stuff, but like just a couple more, even if they're not the best, they're gonna pay dividends and maybe even work. So you still saw the path there. So that was the annoying part, even though it wasn't necessarily close. Marvzar Evloev defeats Arnold Allen. Man, this was a close one, and it sucks I didn't go back to watch it. This one I felt bad on, because, again, according to criteria, and this was annoying because, again, we were, they're awarding counterfighters, person who did late work, and that was Allen, right? And then when we get to Chris Curtis and Barrio, they go back to that trend, of course. Of course, they just stopped the trend right when it's the fight where I need it, right? Of course, they stopped that trend. And they give it to Evloev, and which is fine. But again, the annoying part is I'm trying to be classy over here, and I'm seeing bettors, and God bless them, on the timeline, I'm not hating winners, or whatever and whatnot. But I'm just like, oh man, but some people are having like massive nights, and we're just like, no sweat. And I think I saw someone post like a recap, and God damn it. And again, I'm happy for you guys' wins, and I get it. Just because I'm not a victory lap fan doesn't mean victory laps are wrong. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. Doesn't mean you can't. I'm not saying any of that shit, folks. Have fun. A lot of y'all deserve it, and I will be right there cheerleading with you if you're one of my friends. We know this. But God damn it, in the gambling space, death, taxes, and motherfuckers off a winning night giving PowerPoints. Whether it's on their podcast, whether it's on Twitter. And again, that's why I'm just like emphasizing the fact that I stay fucking humble and I keep that same energy even after a win. But everyone has to do a PowerPoint on why they're the shit. I fucking hate that trope, and not just because it's so easy to make fun of and fucking common. Think about it. Anybody, doesn't have to be someone you like, someone you dislike, friend of the show, not friend of the show. This goes across the fucking board. So I don't mean anything personal if this is you. I love you, okay? But this is fucking true. We have to accept this. Holy shit. But the worst part about it is when they do it and then it's like they didn't learn anything from it. You're like, this is why it's so trite but so true, that saying you learn more from a loss. Because I saw someone's recap on the Evloev and Allen fight, and they're like, Evloev too dominant, nothing more to say. And I'm like, dude, your guy arguably didn't even win the fucking fight. And if you are that much of a nut hugger on him, shouldn't you be saving yourself and seeing ahead of a trend? Okay, you got off this time, but now that he enters the top 5 with that kind of a gas tank, if his wrestling isn't turning into game over ground and pound or submission game over abilities, so he's not going to be game over ending that round early. Now he's going to be in 5 rounders. instead of 3-rounders and against much better wrestlers, much better fighters in general. Like, this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where your radar should be turned on. Forget the fact of, as a profitable gambler, much less trying to grow as a human being, learning from things, God forbid. So that's also the really annoying part, where you're just like, oh, that's right, that's what's rewarded. That attitude is rewarded. And that analysis is rewarded. That is, meanwhile, oh, Dan, your analysis is great. I'm like, is it? I got fucking reverse sweeped. I don't know if it's that great, right? And then, of course, we have the round 3, which gave me flashbacks to, what was it, Dolidze, and fucking another close decision that I was on the wrong end of, that not just on the wrong end of, but arguably didn't need to go to decision, because you have a crucial kneeing exchange that they've been working so hard to change these rules on. And of course, what should not be deemed is illegal, especially in that Dolidze fight, because you didn't even have the rules thing like you did in this one, where they were operating off of old rules. Which, again, I still say, you're going to play the game, even within the few jurisdictions you can play the game in. Okay, even more so, the game can be played back to you, a la DJ, DJ Dotson lifting someone up from the front headlock to get that hand up and kneeing him. And it fucked Evloev up bad, busted the whole side of his head open to match Arnold's bloody face from round 2. And who knows what it could have been. We might not have needed it. And if we didn't, that means round 3 would have cashed. And what were we loaded up on? Oh, fucking boy. We would have... This would have been, again, $1,000 swing right there. Over $1,000 swing. You already had... That's a plus 1,800, getting ready to get paired up with a plus 275 flick by submission. That was already cashed and waiting in the wings in the round robin. Plus the 300 to 400 or whatever. That would have got straight up from just the straight up sprinkle on the round 3. Plus the 1 unit on Allen at plus 175. So that's almost another 2 units back. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, God forbid we get one of those. And then we go back to giving the southpaw counter fighter, early work, even if you will, guy, Chris Curtis, who rightfully gets the decision. But it doesn't matter at that point, right? And even though round 3 turns into a barn burner, not quite enough to get Barrio out of there, even though, again, those left uppercuts, the body and the head was just so much play, again, for what it's worth. Right? Like, yeah, that was fucking spot the fuck on. Neil Magny, Mike Malott, it's weird. I'm happy for everybody that cashed Neil Magny, but I'm not even feeling FOMO missing out on this one. I think I put him at like one of those untracked like round robins at the table, so I actually did make a little bit off this one. With Jimmy, I think Jimmy Flick as well. But again, it's untracked. I don't talk about that, folks. Even on a reverse sweep, where it'd be nice to talk about like some things that you cashed. And I also took like Flick straight up like on the counter. So I didn't get reverse sweep to the counter, but again, that's untracked. That shit don't matter, folks. But yeah, this was a classic Magny spot. That was just like, that was brutal, And I didn't even have anything played on it. Again, the only thing I had played was one untracked round robin that actually hit. So if anything, I actually cashed on this one. But as far as my picks, my tout master, all that goes, plop. For that, that was just kind of like a classic there. But I will say, I did say Malott submission round 2, and that was really close. He kind of just ran out of time there, right? Very similar to Shavkat, except Shavkat was able to buzzer beat and cash our ticket that time. The big loss of the night, which is worst because it's a WMMA fight, and it was a terrible WMMA fight. So it's just one of those ones where it was easy to write it off ahead of time if you weren't paying attention. And both fighters were really underrated. You can make cases for both fighters. But, of course, with hindsight being a bad fight and me being bad bet, because it's a losing bet, it's a bad bet, that really hurt, And it sucked because it's like, oh, I should have been able to see it, right? WMMA, yada, yada. But at the same time, Shitara has, usually is really aged, fairly well and has done fairly well for me, as far as, and I went through that, as far as her evolution. And when I get feelings like this on fighters, I usually do pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's, the Brazilian fighters that I love, like the Poetans and Pantojas, and I was real careful to not put her in that. Obviously, you can't. She hasn't even become a champion or proved herself in any way like that, right? But, she was living somewhere between there and the prospects who I'm high on. And if you look at the top shelf guys, I got a pretty good track record on, right? And go back to my prospects to watch article. Again, very for you MMA gamblers, like, shut up with the analysis, results that matter, bro. It's like, okay, fine, but at least go look at last year's or this year's, that's pinned to my profile at Dan Tom MMA's prospect article, because those things have a crazy high hit percentages, both like aging well, picks, win rates, finish rates, like all these things are disproportionately good. GHUDE, good. Okay, in my defense there. And so I was kind of banking on that. But again, of course, that's analysis when we start putting bets into it, right? When we're talking about circumstantial tropes and luck. Again, I make fun of MMA gambling Twitter for always fading the old person. But what do I also say? It's like, and part of the reason is also because, not just because I like the old person or I'm the contrarian to make the case. That is all true. But another reason is because when I'm fucking jumping on the trend, all right, folks, all right, time to fade the old person, it fucking blows up. And then it blows up, not just blows up where you're wrong, which sucks bad enough. It's like in an I told you so way, where it's like, how'd you not see that coming, bro? You bet on that fight? You bet that much on that fight? You know, and you just look stupid for it. And that is egg on my face. And again, the worst part is to follow in line with it, even though both fighters arguably fought terrible, especially the fighter I backed. She has just had a terrible performance. You could tell by the end of round 1 I was worried. Even though I bet her rounds 2, 3, and 4 as money rounds, she did not leave the gas in the tank. You could already see she was not fighting at a pace. She was disrespecting, Raquel's punches. But at the same time, what did I say? Advantage at kicking range. What did I say? Win, lose, draw, submission, win or not, any outcome, Raquel Pennington's leg is getting damaged, which is why I was saying the reason why I wasn't completely selling out on Shitara by sub, and I was betting rounds as far as not by methods. And sure enough, literally, you go back and watch, the first strike landed is the first strike thrown, and it's a leg kick by Bueno Silva, and that one calf kick, you immediately see just welting and disproportionate. 2, you see like a shift on her shin, like it's in the 4th round. It was insane. Like, I started tweeting like I wanted to cash my money. I was like, see, look, like Leo DiCaprio, But then I stopped mid-tweet. I'm like, Dan, especially with the way tonight's going, your whole night depends on this. Shut the fuck up. Have some class. Nobody cares that your analysis is right. You could still very well lose this. Let's try to get all the karma points we can. We need all the help we fucking can, clearly, to make it out of these fucking events. And sure enough, she just starts all of a sudden just rushing with her head, disrespecting it, just going for... And, you can't even criticize ATT game plans because she clearly wasn't following a game plan. You don't need to hear the corner for that. But yeah, when you go to the corner with Bahumpa, they're losing their mind. They're like, what are you doing? This is nothing from what we planned. So that's why immediately after the first round, I knew my bet was lost, man. I knew my bet was lost. But that being said, to the credit of the fighter I was backing, to the credit of the analysis as to why I was backing that fighter, what did I say? Raquel Pennington, from kicking range to grappling, she can't help but go into the fire. She cannot help. And in a fight where not just one of the worst titles, and again, me and Fenyo were talking like, not just being on the wrong end, but being on the wrong end against goats like Nunes or Jones, and then it's bad enough picking against those people and all the unpopularity, but then you're literally gonna get like, you're literally picking people and they have the worst performances like of all year. Gone versus Jones, and it wasn't just me, it was on many other people's lists. You can't even say it's my betting bias. Like, that is factual. Again? I got another motherfucker that just froze up on a fucking title fight? Really? Again? And even with that and my luck and all that playing out, my analysis was still so right that even with the silver platter, Pennington was still almost getting submitted over and over and over again. And even if she wasn't and says like, oh, those weren't close, it's like, you still shouldn't even been letting them get that close. And even to her own corner and her own backwards, you shouldn't even have been in those positions, right? Everyone was wanting her to box, right? Where she was having credit. So it was just like, so again, like, I lost badly whilst having my analysis proven absolutely right, and that is so fucking painful. That is so fucking painful. And whilst to tread that weird line in, just Hugo weaving all over the fucking place, still also somehow to prove my analysis right while still delivering one of the worst title performances. And we just went to the best title performances. Well, I'll know how. It'll be real easy research for worst title performances. I'll just go track my bets when that show comes up. Real fucking easy. At this point, I really don't care because I didn't even bet the main event. Dragos Du Plessis defeats Sean Strickland. I scored it for Strickland live ever so slightly, but I get the optics game and whatnot. It didn't surprise me that Du Plessis won, but I did score it for Strickland for what it's worth. I had a good talk with Eric like the day he got back or the day after he got back on the Tuesday last week, and he could tell he wanted it, man. And again, it was just one of those things you can have the best game plan in the world, but if the fighter doesn't give you that energy, that effort, or doesn't do the right things, it's you think I'm frustrated, like I was telling Eric, like we think we're frustrated from home, right? Me, you, the audience listener here. Like, dude, imagine you being in these corners, like, they're losing their mind. I mentioned Pahumpa earlier, or guys I actually do know and talk to, like Eric. Very frustrating. So sorry, more longer than I thought, but yeah, looking lean, Dan T. Thank you, thanks, man. Speaking of good advice and good people, like I said, part of the good advice, and not to peek too far behind the curtain, but yeah, my guy Dan Levy here was a big motivator for me. Really trying to get back in the gym, seeing him not just do his jiu-jitsu and his journey that he's been consistently on, but just reminding me of stuff that I already knew, but I just needed to hear. And yeah, that's probably also why I'm a bit grumpy too, folks. I'm in diet mode too. I'm waking up at 185 and finishing workouts in the low 180s. My fat ass has been hanging out between 205 to 209 out of shape, so yeah, down over 20. Trying to get the 170s by Thailand. All right, 46 minutes, way too long. Sorry, folks. UFC Vegas 85, UFC Fight Night 235, UFC Fight Night Dolidze versus Imavov. We've got Roman Dolidze plus 130 roughly as your underdog, and the favorite minus 166 for Nasruddin Imavov. Main event breakdown just dropped on Junkie. I already submitted my co-main betting preview for Action. Not sure if that's up. So you guys may have already seen these and where I'm headed. But this is another middleweight fight. Speaking of middleweight headliners, I kind of want nothing to do with. This is another one of those. And this one I actually am picking the dog. I am picking the side where there's the dreaded value word. Shout out to Joey O, who was on that clip that I tried to get on the podcast but was able to post kind of in thread form. When talking, that's why I should be threading more, because I'll do like a 2-thread. I'll give so much fucking information and cram in mine, but that's not what interjects. It's quick quips and fucking engagement rage bait usually, for the most part. But anyways, yeah, I like the Dolidze here. Honestly, I don't disagree with Imavov being favored. I'm guessing it's because he actually has the 5-round experience in the Apex, although he didn't look great in that fight. He has the more superior range game because he also, not so coincidentally, has a better process to his game, at least on the feet. Arguably, too, on the floor, since he won't sacrifice terrible positions. He does kind of crash into the clinch a lot, which is what worries me. Because even though he's got a lot of that Muay Thai savvy and swagger you will see from the Fernand Lopez MMA factory fighters, he carries a lot of that similar swag, frames for the elbows and knees. Well, so we can see Dolidze has some freakishly framish elbows and knees in particular, very strong in that range, plus the submission grappling prowess, where he can get most of his takedowns he prefers from the clinch. He's athletic enough to shoot from the open, doesn't do it a ton, and the few that I remember seeing, a lot of them, he would use that to enter and then have to chain to something else if he got a takedown. But he's not a really reliable or consistent guy really in any phase, because he really is not too processed, that is Dolidze. But he is much more dangerous. He's much more opportunistic, much more ways to win the fight in my opinion, even though Imavov is more well-rounded than given credit for, or has perhaps shown even though he has shown some good groundwork from topside. Just don't think he wants to be messing with that. I know leg locks aren't the most high percentage, but look at what Dolidze has been able to do, even who he's been able to do it too, right? That Jack Hermanson was really impressive, although again, early on in that fight, that leg kick defense is just really bad, even though he still wins that fight. And of course, regardless of how you scored the Vettori fight, he did lose that fight, and the common thread, regardless of result, reason why I bring it up, is because the leg kicks, whether it was a southpaw in Vettori or an orthodox fighter in Hermanson. The leg kick defense does not seem to be there for Dolidze. I mean, let's be honest, he doesn't really seem that defensive-minded. Imavov actually likes to look like he likes to imitate defense at the very least. You can poke holes in his defense too, for sure. But at least he likes to, imitate that as best he can, even if it's through, a lot of lean back, draw back, suave styling of defense there. Small cage as well. So, these tighter fights, I tend to give slight edges stylistically to the more superior submission grappler. Wrestler in this case is going to be Roman Dolidze. I'm going to go with him, but it's not a confident pick. Probably won't be playing with him. Maybe I throw him in a round robin because it looks like it's going to be like a shout out to my guy Clint, Diehard MMA Pod. That guy's funny, man. And I don't want to steal his, so I just want to maybe give him the proper shot. But I know he likes to do a submission special. Sometimes my round robins end up being Oh, my fucking shoulder. Gotta stop leaning. I gotta protect it too. Sometimes my round robins end up being unofficial submission specials, and this one's already looking to be. But if I do like a fifth leg or something, maybe you throw Dolidze sub on there or something, depending on what you can get for it. But that's gonna be my pick, round 3, round 2 or round 3. So one of those middle-ish rounds there. But yeah, nothing on it. Not jumping to get to the window on that one. Co-main event, arguably the best fight on the card. People are most looking forward to. You got Dober-Moicano minus 192. Drew Dober plus 148. You forget that Dober-Moicano hasn't fought for a minute because, oddly enough, his popularity has grown in spite of his absence. Crack some water here. So you go back and look at him against southpaws, and technically he's just 0-1 against dedicated southpaws, and of course that was against RDA, and of course that was on shorter notice. But if you remember, which I do, from that breakdown, close decisions, weird ref interventions, non-stoppages, and when it comes to non-stoppages, this wasn't quite Benoit Saint Denis, Easy Dos Santos. But of course I was on the wrong end of this one too, with all that inside the distance money. That was a huge, another $1,000 swing. If I had the round robins, the inside the distance fucking chunk. Holy shit, that just gives me flashbacks, that one. And not just the 5 rounds. They gave you the gift of the 5 rounds when it shouldn't have been 5 rounds. But Dos Anjos, he attacks the body, and obviously being a southpaw, power left side, strong left-sided strikes. And something I noted was obviously people who could counter the jab, which is why I picked Jose Aldo and Korean Zombie to knock him out at featherweight. But why I also ended up going with Fiziev to knock him out was because Fiziev could just counter the jab. But Fiziev also went to the body. And you look at the Fiziev fight and a lot of the other fights, left hands actually have a... Maybe not, I wouldn't go so far as to use a stronger word to say a disproportionate amount of landing, but they definitely stand out more than the rights. And that was something that I pointed out, and that was true for both the kicks and the punches for RDA. I know Moicano's left eye was damaged up, but a lot of that was from trying to slip the left hand, so the left hand was actually still doing it to that eye. And then the majority lion's share came from that ground and pound when he almost got the first stoppage the first time the fight should have been stopped in round 3 or whatever that was. But yeah, so Dober's got a cannon of a left side. Dober will go to the body. He does the change up with the left hand, especially when he has his opponents crowded against the cage. And that's usually around the time where he will let go of the kicks too. He used to kick a lot more. In same stance matchups, he will remind himself to do the leg kick that he would do a lot more. You saw when he was coming up onto the scene. But as far as, jab counters, it's not really his thing. Not that he can't counter. It's more just like getting hit and firing back, or hopping in and out, hopping in 1-2, hopping back. kind of a thing. Not that he's like a Conor McGregor out there, but he's got a bit of that, bounce step in him. Of course, Drew Dober was going back over what ranks he has, and I forgot not just the Muay Thai experience, but he has the Taekwondo black belt like I do. So it's just this weird. It's something that I'm trying to get coached out of my Thai kicks right now, and it's something I notice I'm really doing with a lot of the drilling. Oh man, I've been having so much fun drilling, feeling good. Looking a little less like a fucking, I was going to say nonce, Jesus Christ, that's not the right word. English people are laughing right now. Looking a little less like a novice, that's the word I'm looking for, each time. Obviously, I'm not a novice, I'm just old, out of shape, out of swing, and suck. But, yeah, I've been doing some back on the privates for those and stuff, and that's been fun. But, yeah, I noticed that habit, too, now, because I fucking do the same thing, except I'm not handsome or awesome like Drew Dober or a pro fighter. So I really got to fix it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Dober does have a bit of that. So not the traditional things I would look for against a guy I want to beat Moicano. But again, he does have the bare-based tools to get the job done, especially with the chaos of the smaller octagon. Dober usually doesn't get it done in round 2. It's usually round 1 for him as far as when he's finishing people. But you look at one of the only round 2 finishes in recent memory. That one comes, of course, with that Bobby Green fight where he was actually getting pieced up. But that was also in the small cage. So I forgot. I actually got small cage records for the main and co-main event, but I forgot them. And to be honest, they're not really that important. They generally aren't too much, really. But they didn't really portend or say much for what it's worth. So apologies, but also you're not missing too much. But yeah, so even though the value, especially with the way the money was going, was open as a pick'em, I would love for an excuse to pick Dober. But no, I see it for Moicano. Even though he's not too physical, and Dober, is underrated as far as he's a strong guy. He's used to people trying to take him down his whole career. His scrambling has gotten a little better. His sub defense has definitely gotten better. But at the end of the day, submissions are still that common culprit. At the end of the day, he still can be taken down. At the end of the day, he will kind of give his back and show some back exposure, even if he's good about using the fence. And it's more of a taller tripod, so he really makes that ski slope when he kind of turtles, right? But Moicano is a dude who could probably still take your back like that, He is a wicked fast back taker. His shuck buys and his chains, again, he will shoot in the open, but it's a lot of the chains and shuck buys that'll end up getting it done for him along the fence there. Small cage, he knows what he's got to do. He's had a break for the chin. You want to hope. We'll see there. Whereas Dober's chin, which wasn't in question, he always had that edge, and he still does here on paper. But now that he's been stopped, now that it's been cracked, you look at the mileage that he has, even though he looks young. Mileage is mileage. Mid-30s is mid-30s, even though as a guy in the wrong end of the mid-30s, I'm definitely rooting for my mid-30s guys. I got Moicano here. I felt like the best bang for your buck is the under. I hate playing unders. I'm not confident on unders on a good day, much less the luck that I've been fucking having. Do you think I like that bet? No, but I'm not going to bet things just because I suck or I'm going to fade myself, which I will do for the reverse parlay. I guess I'll probably play an over. Or something for plus money. And you can usually get a total in a parlay over a prop. So maybe that's how I'll counter myself here. But yeah, one of the main plays I have on the board right now, you can get it for the opener or just under the opener. Minus 124, minus 125 was the opener. I got it for minus 130. That's still playable chalk for me. I wouldn't play anything over minus 140 on this, by the way, folks. Minus 145 I would put as a cap on it. But that's still within playable chalk. So I put 1.3 units to get a unit back on minus 130. And then what I also did is I put a not even a Scottie Pippen. I think I just put a quarter unit on Moicano round 2 at plus 650. And I think that's like 1.62 units return. So that because I think he's going to do it in round 2. Most of the time he does it under the under mark. But with Dober, Dober was able to get to round 3 with Makhachev. Even though Makhachev, in his defense, that wasn't the small cage, but Makhachev was also doing some striking in there. And they're much more different styles. Makhachev will cook his way to a submission, unless it's just like that crazy club and sub style that he got on Du Bronx. Whereas Moicano, he will just be quick. he's quick snatches in the back, quick opportunistic stuff. Bop, bop, bop. So it's not that, Moicano's not as good as Islam, so, don't get me wrong, like, maybe that logic will take you to a cashing ticket. Hell, probably because you're on the opposite side of me. But yes, as far as showing the work, which would be par for the fucking course, I would show the work correctly and still not get it right. That shouldn't dissuade you from, if you are wanting to follow my logic in some way, whether it's toward the under or Moicano in round 2. The round 2 is just insurance in case we do get it right and we miss that total marker. Just a single quarter unit sprinkle will get us all that money back, plus, what is it, like 32 ducats back. You know what I'm saying? So we'll still technically profit off of that. But yeah, that's what I did. Moicano round 2 plus 650 quarter unit, and Moicano Dober under 1.5 minus 130 1.3 units. What's up? We got Liam and some other people in the chat. My man, Liam, good dude. I gave you a shout earlier in the show, Liam. Much deserving one, my brother. I hope you're well. I thank you. I hope you're well too. Check out Liam's channel too, folks. Great show, great analysis. He's another guy. He does the damn thing. He's a grappler as well. Appreciate that, dude. Let's go to. I was just middle of doing tape on this one. I wanted to get it all done, but I'm. To be honest, a lot of it was affirming stuff, so it only kind of not reassures, but you know what I'm saying. I want to leave myself a little bit of wiggle room, but yeah, I could see where I'm going on this one. We got Randy Rude Boy Brown minus 260, comeback on Muslim-Salikhov plus 196. Again, not to be ageist or whatever, but I just feel like Salikhov's age is showing. Like, you could almost just see the struggle. He's like, come on. And I know Dolby Locomotivo is, what do they call him right now? EPO Motivo or something? I forget. I don't know. I'm a Dolby fan, so good on that dude. But so I get that style is definitely exhausting. No shade there. But just in general, man, Salikhov really looking to tire himself out. His grappling has improved since stepping onto the scene, which makes sense. It's like he knew he had to. The freaking resources clearly are around him. Obviously, he's more of a Wushu Sanda guy than he is a Dagestani wrestler from forged in the fires of Dagestan. Like, they're not all wrestlers like that, folks. That being said, he actually does have some underrated wrestling. You could tell he's really worked hard on his grappling. However, that doesn't necessarily help the aging, cardio, stamina management sort of the deal, right? So you kind of see him fade toward those end rounds. That being said, man, he has spin kicks, which, the left-sided shots I think can do good against Brown, who can kind of dip. We'll see Brown kind of do the jabbing, kind of have those like boxing, real boxing habits where he really dips to that side. So, even though he's not facing a southpaw here, Salikhov, like a lot of Russian kickboxers, they're good with the lead leg, that switch side, and then also the spinning, right? Whether it's the to the body, which there's a long body there, right? A lot of body to kick, or up to the head. Those shots are going to be live from the left side, and of course the good old right hand, which Salikhov can time. He can corral to the cage, kind of see where the fighter is fading into it, and kind of really intercept with that right hand. Those are going to be live for him to get the knockout here in rounds 1 or 2. I would say are his paths to victory. Maybe I'll put something there because I'm thinking about betting Randy Brown, but small. I just want to, and maybe I can't remember my first breakdown or my leaning. It was, if anything, it was just kind of like this, a sprinkle on something maybe smaller past. I'm not trying to buy in on the price tag or the chalk for Randy Brown because we've seen him kind of play with his food and stuff like that. And again, there are pathways to victory for the knockout. But I think the small cage, again, favors the more dangerous grappler. And I do believe that is Randy Brown. He always had some underrated submission prowess. Brown belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, long limbs. I know we've seen him get, out grapple. We've seen him get finished in weird positions. Sure. But he also can get, opportunistic submissions where you don't even need to get it on the ground. The Cowboy, shout out to MMA Analysis Podcast, Cowboy Oliveira, standing RNC, he's got front chokes. Warley Alves, he got him with a triangle off of his back, right? So if he hurts Salikhov or is putting pressure on him, Salikhov could get himself in a front choke, or maybe he shoots and misses the front choke but gets Randy Brown down. Randy Brown gets a triangle, right? Maybe it's one of those standing things where Salikhov's tired and he just cranks the choke standing. or he's wrestling him, because now, even against a bigger guy coming down who specializes in Haas grappling like a Wellington Turman, right? It was kind of maybe questionable, but as far as sizing this matchup, if he's willing to do that to the Wellington Turman and actually able to stifle him and get takedowns, why is he not able to do that against Muslim-Salikhov, right? And then, thirdly, there's the good old-fashioned falling down, right? Where whether his back's to the cage and butt's on the ground because Randy Brown just put him there in the same scenario that I just said with a Wellington Turman, or, I was going back to watch, I think it was like in round 2 of the Dalby fight. Like, he's not even throwing anything spinning. Like, he just, again, he's tired. You got the pressure of somebody coming forward, or a distance that you don't really, is throwing you off, like a longer guy like Brown, where it gets to you before you realize you fall backwards, and he just falls on his butt near the cage. And whether he was knocked down, whether he's fallen down, or taken down and scrambling up, the motion I keep seeing Salikhov do is give his neck. So yeah, I'm actually thinking about doing Randy Brown for my prop squad submission for this week for Action Network. And not just putting it in the round robin, but again, I'm not buying in. I'm not putting him in a parlay. I'm not buying the chalk. So, if we're getting near +5, or 400 or so, right around there, 4-1, like, why not just another quarter to a half a unit sprinkle, maybe just a Scottie Pippen on there, and then whatever exposure is in the round robin, right? So that's where I'm leaning again. Check me, quick picks and prognostications at MMA Junkie on Fight Day for my picks and explanations for those picks. And check me at Dan Tom MMA. It should be popped up here, right? Yep, at Dan Tom MMA. Weird creepy thumb. Tickle. Easy, Dan. On Fight Day, of course, you can find my picks and plays posted there. I'll take a break when we get through the main card. I just want to get through this first. We got Natalia Silva -345, Viviana-Arauuuuuujo. Boy, this fight is this card is featuring some non-bettors for me, the do not bet list. Pretty sure Arauuuuuujo is on that do not bet list. She might as well not be. But that being said, this is dog or pass for the prize, because I get Natalia Silva. Give me Natalia Silva. But it's crazier that she is the more, you look at their accolades, I think Viviana Arauuuuuujo, not only does she outrank her in both judo and jiu-jitsu with her grappling accolades, I think she's got better striking accolades too. Natalia Silva, I think she's like purple belts or whatever in Muay Thai. And then they give a belt system down there for theirs, right, in Brazil. And I think like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but, her dexterity, her submission prowess, her strike, I get it. I don't want to play it. I'll probably end up picking it. But even if I did pick Arauuuuuujo, man, I just cannot pick Arauuuuuujo's fights to save my life. When I go on her as a dog, she doesn't show up. She's just so inconsistent. She's just on my no bet list. And in my defense, reason why she's on that no bet list, because she's inconsistent, man. So I'll probably end up picking Natalia Silva, but we'll see. I'm clearly not in a rush to bet this fight. This next fight, however, I could be betting. This one is right next on my docket, actually, right after this. I pretty much finished my Salikhov Brown analysis for the most part. There's just a little bit more I want to watch for me, thorough Lebowski. We have Alias Scab, Khizriev, as people like to say, he's the chubby Khabib, or as I have written down here, I call him CHUBIB. CHUBIB, baby! CHUBIB is -162, and he's facing Mahmoud. I want to be careful when I'm typing his name in the Instagram for pictures. I want to make sure I get the right pictures. Mahmoud, baby! Sorry, I'm not trying to spread any Dakota Cochran misinfo out there, but I don't know. I don't want to know. But I'm pretty sure there's some stories of Mahmoud out there. Anyway, Mahmoud-Muradov, baby. Mahmoud, baby. +135. Jesus, Dan. Stick to the breakdown. Giving a chubby to CHUBIB. I'm going to get some chub if CHUBIB's able to take him down, because right now I'm looking at CHUBIB, it's Khizriev, to wins 1 and 2. This guy's still unproven, right? He's not forged in the fires of Dagestan. There's no even masters of sports stuff. Not that he doesn't have it. Not that he didn't grow up wrestling and doing martial arts. I believe he did. But on his bio, it's funny. It's like he's got the Timur Valiev thing, where he's got a degree in accounting as his accomplishments. He didn't even list martial arts stuff. Him and Timur Valiev, they look like full Dagestan. They're accounting. I was like, all right. But yeah, no, his style is for the small cage. He's got a southpaw style. It'd be a little back foot too much for the striking. A little more opportunistic, maybe because he's undersized for this weight. He's like my size at 185, and like I'm waking up at 185 now. I don't know what this guy's doing. Like we're small for 170. He's much more thicker than I am, and obviously much more capable and much more of a mountain man. He has beard, so he has men, right? That is what we. He obviously is strong enough to compete, even though he probably should be a welterweight, where he still wouldn't be the biggest guy. That being said, it might not matter here. Pogues-Muradov, even against like really bad former welterweights who have made lightweight, not really bad, but really bad, at least in that performance. And you guys know me, I'm a big fan of Bam Bam Barberena. I wouldn't disrespect him, but that was an awful choice, awful look for Bam Bam, etc. And I feel like Mahmoud even made that harder than he needed to. I also feel like he's got a bit of that Salikhov thing where he's improving on his grappling, but I don't know if that's really helping his game. Now he's just being in much more harder, closer to call fights where he's doing better in areas where you wouldn't have expected to his credit. But then also it's like, what is he really getting done? It's not really helping both the entertainment nor his win conditions of a fight. So for that reason, plus the small octagon typically not being kind to him or his style, it's really kind to more of a Khizriev style, in my opinion. So I'm leaning, again, I still going to watch some tape just to refresh myself on some certain things here or there. But I'm going to be leaning to Khizriev by submission here. And he's another one of those guys where I'm looking at him for the submission round robin, but I'm also looking to play him in round 2. Him in round 2 or Brown, and because he's just getting priced out pretty much for the sub is getting priced out for Prop Squad. We usually like to limit ourselves to plus 350, and I think plus 350 is only available in one house, and that probably won't be there for long. So right now I'm looking at round 2 or Randy Brown by sub for my Prop Squad unless something else pops up to me. But again, even if something pops up, Silva-Arauuuuujo is not a fight I want to bet, and neither is the next fight. Again, picking Khizriev by sub probably. Check me on Fight Day at Tom MMA. But I'm probably not looking forward to betting Charles Radke, Chuck Buffalo, plus 170, and Gilbert Urbina minus 210. I don't remember, probably for the better. I don't remember what kind of slurs Chuck Buffalo was saying. There was like a slur-filled card that he was on, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully he stays away from saying anything about Urbina if he wins. But yeah, I got no clue. I'm gonna unfortunately have to watch some tape on this fight to make a damn pick. I'm not looking forward to it, clearly. And before I go to the prelims to knock the rest of it out, I just want to get to you guys. We got Jin Karasu. Can you explain why it's bad to use close but clear and why it's better to use competitive fight? I want to timestamp it so I can argue with people on other forums who use close but clear. I understand the meaning of close but clear, but for as much as people flip out for you saying that, oh, I think it'll end in split, or I'm surprised it wasn't a split decision. Like, I think you should freak out harder for people saying close but clear, because you make the whole making a decision about the decision, the whole process we fucking argue about week in and week out, you arguably make it harder. Because close but clear is an oxymoron. If you want to say competitive but clear, that could be fine, you could argue that Conor was competitive in some rounds with Khabib. I think he even won a round, right? So I guess it's more than fair to say he was competitive. But it was clear that Khabib was winning the fight until he finished the fight. Not that anybody would argue that fight because there was a clear winner. But you know what I mean? Like, you can really stretch kind of competitive. You can still give someone respect by saying it was competitive, but still being clear. When you say close but clear, now that's you can still say close, but saying close but clear, that's an oxymoron. Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis, I like I said earlier, I scored it for Strickland, but these were close rounds. So when they're close rounds, it comes down to optics. So you can't say it was clear. As upset as Eric was when I was talking to him, he wasn't a sore loser. He wasn't saying they were clear. That guy's not, he's biased as shit, of course, but he's not delusional, So, yeah, it wasn't clear, right? A lot of people in that position, especially like a cornerman, would probably say it close but clear, and it's just like, no, it's not. Jimmy Kudo, we got Third Reichus as champ. It seems like the people have forgotten his I'm the real African colonialism BS. Yeah, well, he played he was all class to his credit during fight week from what I recall. And compared to how Sean was acting, yeah, it wasn't hard to look like the good guy there. So I think it was more so him benefiting off how Sean was acting a fool. Which really fucked. I was talking to Eric about that too, and that really fucked him up. That gave him the adrenaline dump. He had the fight before the fight, that was our theory. Which is why he couldn't push and give those optics and stick to the game plans more like you were calling for. Because body teeps, sure enough, that was the main part of the game plan. I guessed it right because me and Eric will kind of compare notes after, and I love it. Even if we're wrong, I like when we're on the same page at least of like what we saw. Makes us feel a little less crazy. Makoto Kyogoku, did you find Evloev versus Allen really frustrating because Evloev was only doing one thing? Yep. Evloev would throw a rear straight and either double leg or right hook from southpaw. Yeah. I guess he was kind of jabbing a little more as the fight went on, but not really much to me. I really didn't see it much. I'd have to go back and watch, but I was not impressed. Synchro Wing, I know we aren't big fans of Dunkus Duplunkus. I love that. Dunkus Plunkus, a.k.a. Third Reichus. Do you like his body kick setup when he looks up at the chin and then kicks from the body southpaw? Yeah, I actually really like that a lot. That's a great shout there. I did like that. That was a good shout. Rain Lamina, for the Magny fight, it seems like the only really disciplined and good film study people... For Magny fight, it seems like only the really disciplined and good film study people beat him correctly. Yeah, you really got to do your study for that. And again, even though it wasn't the greatest or whatever, but it wasn't like. But Malott was throwing the leg kicks on the feet. He was able to out grapple him, and he did almost finish him in round 2, like I thought. Again, even though I didn't play Malott, so that's not coming from spilled milk. If anything, I made money off that Magny. The only time I ever make fun of someone betting is the time someone foolishly bet $20,000 on Amanda Lemos against Whaley. That was foolish. I had to make fun of that. Absolutely. Jin Karasu, Imavov is the fighter with the twist kick that Leon Edwards and Cyril Gahn does in the open stance fight. Yep, absolutely. I love that. Love that kick. Love that shout. And I like that you refer to it as twist kick. I always get confused because it gets referred to as so many different things, which is fine. Not wrong. But I came up calling it the twist kick from Taekwondo. Rios and Truesdale. Would you compare Dolidze to our not boy Third Reichus? He does all the wrong stuff and somehow wins. The only good thing he does is when he goes southpaw and throws body kicks. He also has a sneaky good head kick from there, which makes sense considering he's a Crow Cop fan. But yeah, that's funny. I actually had a similar thought. But again, this is the division where guys like that can go, the wild men, the lead says. Remember Derek Brunson's wild run? You know what I'm saying? How improbable that was? Like, middleweight is the division for that to happen. Jin Karasu, is it good that Dober likes the rear body southpaw? Yeah, we talked about that. He changes it up well. T. Drew Cook, hey, I was just talking about you. Looking forward to the card and cheering for my fellow Drew to get an upset. Hey, look at that. Cheers as always, Dan. See ya. Yeah, hopefully if Drew does get it, it'll be in the under, so it cashes there for me as well. But I feel ya. Aaron Menard, my man. What's good? Dapper Dan Mantom. Well, I appreciate you, Aaron. One of the good dudes in the sport who trains, been on his own training journey that's inspiring me as well, and gives back to the sport by actually getting in there and contributing. Love Aaron. James Kendrick, I think the proper term for Muslim Salikhov is Sanda King of Kung Fu, right? Since he actually is non-Chinese, Sanda champion. But his only look is the jab, feint, and move back. Yeah, that's definitely a main one of his for sure. Pepe Silva, would be nice to see Rude Boy get a little aggressive down the stretch and perhaps get a round 2 or 3 submission. Yeah, I mean, round 2 or 3 is definitely what I was thinking too. But if Rude Boy does get a finish, like he gets finished abruptly, but I feel like his finishes can be abrupt too, which is what's making me a bit hesitant on picking a round. And I love sprinkling some rounds, Pepe Silva. But yeah, I don't hate those. Those are definitely the hot rounds. Hey, I get your hot rounds if I were to call them. But again, I'm probably just going to be playing just that sub shot in a couple different ways. Liam Fixed Fights, think Brown inside the distance fight doesn't go the distance, the sides here. That's a great way to fortify. That's a great fortification I think Liam gave out. Rain Lamina, Natalia Silva seems to be getting some hype. I hope she loses. Oh, okay. Hey, that could happen. By the way, Liam, I will. If you missed it earlier, I'm going to get back to your messages. I still haven't checked it out. Rain, that's a pretty salty, bitter attitude, no? Rooting for Arauuuuuujo is cool, but hating on Silva because other people like her is a choice. Drop a like for Dan Tom. I appreciate that, Liam. I appreciate that. Appreciate the banter, too. You guys keeping it friendly. All right, going to the prelims. We got, Diana-Belbita, plus 215. Meatball, Mully McCann, Fochanel, Buch, Mully, Meatball, Mully. She's looking trim. She's on her weight loss journey. Can appreciate that. But, Molly McCann feels like a trap. You never know how much, I know she did open pretty wide, but like how much of this is the Barstool English money, right? You know what I'm saying? She didn't open that wide. -2, just a little bit of money came in. Yeah, I feel like this is a classic dog or pass for Belbita. Belbita, not a great record, not the cleanest style or anything like that, but she is showing improvements. I didn't look into this one too closely, so I'm not going to say too much, but this just feels like it's got dog or pass written all over it. Does it not? No. Speaking of my no bet list, we got Charles Johnson in the house, baby. Fuck betting this guy. Plus 180, Charles Johnson is an underdog, as at Maxim, -235. Maxim is good. One of the few guys to ever take Tyson Nam down, which I think went over people's heads, both how deceptively close how that fight was, how impressive that was. But I'm sure, just like with the Movsar Evloev, everybody who blindly bets the Russian chalk thinks they're Jesus fucking Christ for cashing those tickets. Meanwhile, I somehow end up on that. Oh, but did he really win? Your guy actually has an argument for winning, but of course he didn't. Kind of a thing. Of course, I somehow always end up on that fucking side. God damn. Forget the recaps having of a reverse sweep making me relive. No, just how about a normal breakdown with my, where's this variance, y'all? God damn it. Oh, fucking Charles Johnson. Even when he wins and when he actually gets the finish, he still fucks me over. Because the one time Chris Taglioni decides to stop things early, which has been proven. My point on that's been proven a billion times over. Because what has that guy done since? Reminded you why I was so pissed off about the early stoppage. Because that's not his thing. Oh, God, yeah. Betting against Charles Johnson when he wins and probably shouldn't have won. Or betting on him when he loses and probably should have won. Oh, how frustrating is that shit? Are you kidding me? Yeah, fuck betting Charles Johnson. Fuck that. Picking as at Maxim. Staying the fuck away from any fight Charles Johnson is in. There's nothing personal against Charles Johnson. It's not fuck Charles Johnson. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I wish him the best. Fuck betting on Charles Johnson fights. That's all I got to say. Pistol Pete Rodriguez. Pistol Pete. I don't know why I picture Pete Rodriguez. He reminds me of like Bart Simpson when they do that. Like, oh, what are you going to be like when you grow up, Bart? And it shows Bart as a male stripper where he's like all overweight and he comes out with a cowboy hat. He's doing the pistol thing like that. That's what I picture Pete Rodriguez. He really should actually have that costume and like do that as his Tapology photo. That would be fucking fantastic. He'd probably get more random ass bookings. But this is a weird one. He came in as a replacement guy, so you're kind of seeing where he settles. I don't know. I didn't even really look into this fight. I'll probably pick them to Gorimbo, but it's not a fight I want to bet. You bet the plus money in this fight, if anything, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I can't say. We got road to UFC winner Jianyong Lee, -150, plus 120 with Blake Bilder. Blake Bilder, this feels like a spot where, as much as I hate to say it, the Asian fighter could get upset by the more experienced American who isn't afraid to wrestle and has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is Blake Bilder. However, we've seen Blake Bilder, get rocked. We've seen him get dissuaded off his game, even if he hasn't been stopped a bunch or by strikes per se in his career, right? We've definitely seen him get put off his game. From the little I can recall seeing of Lee, I could see him do that. I'll be leaning toward Lee, but I haven't looked into this fight. And even if I pick Lee, I feel like the dog is live, so I'll probably be staying away. I apologize. I don't have more to say on the road to UFC winner, but we know the UFC doesn't promote road to UFC. They're going to be like weighing people in at the same weigh-ins, even on the bio sheets. They didn't even bother differentiating these people. They could give a shit. It's like my relatives coming over here to be indentured slaves on the boat. Just fit them in where you can. That's the UFC's attitude. Just fucking our numbers, baby. Numbers and labor. That's how we're looked at. All right. Julija Stoliarenko, -134. Urbina-Carolina plus 110. This feels crazy to me. I don't know what I'm missing here. It's not like crazy numbers. Dolidze Stoliarenko is not reliable. Maybe it's I want to get on the train now because I got burned by the Mully McCann. Then that maybe explains my dog or pass attitude for the McCann fight. But yeah, I like Stoliarenko here. Small cage. You know what she's going to do. Urbina-Carolina, not great. We saw what happened in the Lipsky fight. Granted, that was a while ago. I don't really recognize the camp she's training with. I still got to double check her socials in her most recent fight to double check it. Soros time, but I don't know. It just, it's not a great number, so it's not going to be super sexy, which, for the round robin, it's like, eh. But I may put Stoliarenko by sub in there, and I may just play the sub straight up, even though it's not sexy, at least a half unit or something on there. Just because, again, submission grappler, small cage, that just seems where it's going to go. So probably be picking and playing Stoliarenko, but not confidently, not by a lot. More of, Stoliarenko's not someone I'd be, swiping right on. But, you look at the room, it's a little dark. We've had a couple of drinks. It's been a bit dry. Fuck it. Jesus, Dan, that was a bit too real of an analogy there. All right, we got Landon Quinones plus 110. Markel-Mederos minus 136. I got to go back and read my contender series notes on Mederos. Hopefully you did. Again, I barely get to these fights because they're buried, and we still got to see what the fuck these fighters have to do. Not something that even if I researched, I should or much less would be wanting to put my money on. Nor should you. But yeah, you can go check my grading the winners. I'm going to go do that. I know Landon Quinones put in a tough fight against Hackparas, but again, we just got to see where these guys settle. It's a weird fight. Jamal Pogues plus 140. Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Peterson. I love my guy from the Contender series, Justin Bernard. I can his name. Ring announcers, and I know he takes his job so seriously. He is such a professional and such a salt of the earth nice guy that he genuinely felt really bad about saying that. And I love the guy, and I would be the same way. But at the same time, that was really fucking funny, Justin. That was fucking hilarious. So I love you, Justin, but I'm still going to call, and no offense to Thomas Peterson, Thomas Jefferson. I feel like we have to call him Thomas Jefferson. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's got the same proclivities of Thomas Jefferson, or if Jamal Pogues can use that to motivate him. Wow, Dan, that was a weird, deep history cut. But no, motivate is the word, though, for Pogues. I feel like this is upset haven because Pogues, not by much, but he has some deceptive experience in and out of the octagon, or at least in comparison to his opponent. So he would have the experience edge, and he is a heavyweight who can wrestle and grapple. Like, not only can he wrestle, even though it's not like the greatest, it's just the fact that he's a willing wrestler immediately puts him above a lot of other heavyweights. And, I mean, I don't know how good he is, but, like, at his bio, according to his bio, Pogues is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Small cage, guy coming off the Contender Series, and Thomas Jefferson, Peterson. I feel like it's Pogues all day, What is Pogues by decision, even? Let's see, what is that? Like, Pogues to win by plus... that's a shitty number, yeah. They know this is gonna... Fat schmat. What if he goes by... They're posting over plus 1,000 Pogues by submission. Maybe you throw that in a round robin just for fucks and giggles. I may end up picking Pogues, but this is not a fight I'm going to bet. Like, the most I would do would be like a round robin on a stupid number. Because even though all that stuff makes sense, ultimately Pogues used to be a 205er and has like really climbed up in weight to where it was... And I'm not a body shamer, folks, despite me always talking about men's bodies. I'm just trying to balance out all the body shaming us men do to women is all, folks. That's all right. That's nothing wrong with that. That's very feminist of me, if anything. I don't know about that, Dan. Joe, co-sign on that shit. But no. But yeah, like, it just makes me worry, So I also kind of maybe want to wait and see till weigh-in day. I'm going to go poke around on Pogues' socials, see what's going on there. But yeah, now that I'm rushing to bet this fight, I am tempted to pick Pogues as one of the decent amount of live underdogs, I would say, on this card. All right, gonna recap the chat, and then we'll get the fuck out of here, folks. What are we doing time? Jesus Christ, 128. All right. Well, I made up for it in the back end. It took me forever to get into it, but I got through the card pretty fast. For what it's worth. Jin Karasu repost. Can you explain why it's bad to use close but clear? I already did that. Hopefully you got that, Jin Karasu. It's a close but clear. It's an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. You can't be close but also clear. You say competitive but clear, because that actually can be. You could be competitive but still have a clear winner. Close, especially with MMA judging, of all things. I mean, competitive. You got to be careful about saying clear with MMA judging, right? Much less if it's close. So yeah, that alone. By definition, or within the context of MMA, it should be a slam dunk argument. Makatsu Kayagoku, what is your betting style when you see someone like Meatball move down divisions? Should you bet against them because they are draining themselves, or is it more skill based? It's more skill based, but like kind of like the Sam Patterson, he was moving up, right? It's even though moving up can be better than moving down. It depends. There's a lot of context to that, right? It was more the skill and the matchup that had me picking Sam Patterson, and sure enough, he won. But that doesn't mean I'm going to bet it, and I was right there. McCann is much more risk. I've been wrong about her, so I probably won't bet her there. Not sure that answers your question, but it's a case-by-case scenario. Nick Wilson, surprised to see Meatball Mully at minus 300 in a fight outside of England. Yep, and then also with the, the chaos of the small cage, and, yeah, man. Cutting down the weight, all that stuff. Rios and Truesdale, I spoke to Chris Presnell, Asian MMA expert, on this, but this is just further evidence on how little the UFC cares about Asian fighters. Road to UFC was only announced last Tuesday with the event on. Yeah, they keep doing this stuff last minute to Road to UFC. It's fucking terrible. Or last Saturday, yep. Pepe Silva, I love the honesty with Stoliarenko after a few cocktails. A little too honest there, right, Pepe Silva? Feeling Pogues should be a favorite. Yeah, I feel like it too. I don't know if it's Contender Series hype, which alone makes me want to, is probably like getting my excitement for a fight that I should not be excited about. Thank God it's the Joe Silva special. But yeah, I don't disagree with you, Pepe. Pepe Silva, hope you're hungry this weekend. We're having meatball sub. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to take a shot on too. I wonder what that sub line is, Nick Wilson, Sally Hemings reference? Dan always with the most highbrow and effed up references. Oh, I love you guys. James Kendrick, do you feel like MMA fans and media become reductionist when it comes to talking about fighter style? Probably, and because I feel like I am in some ways, because I don't get to put the tape study that even to my standard, I would like to do, right? So if someone as nutty and OCD and completist like me isn't doing up to standard, and maybe my results reflect that way, I don't know, because I do put in hard work, and I do have actual analysis and show my work, and the analysis, even when I'm wrong, is right. So maybe my self-deprecating Dan is misplaced here, but yeah, if someone like me is struggling to put the same amount in, I imagine that's what's going on, because it's just tough, especially the more successful you get, Zane Dale, Stoliarenko by sub, a good prop for bet, or for 6 plus 625. I don't know where the fuck you're getting that number. That's a great number, because she opened at 200, and most of the houses now it's around 130 plus 130. So if you found that number, grab it, Zane. Grab it. I might sprinkle 4 units on that, which is $4. Grab it. Although again, I untracked and it was like a week off or whatever for me, I think, or something like that. But it was that Jailman Derek Lewis card. The house that I go to fucked up, and they put Jailman by sub. It was like minus numbers, right? Because that was the most obvious outcome for the fight. They had it at plus 500 for some reason, and I put like 100 on that, right? And like my buddy Aaron and people I was sharing it with were like, dude, run back to the machine, put a fucking 1,000 on that. And good thing I didn't, because again, even say what you will about Dan Tom Luck, like, well, you grab that number, it's like, do you not remember what happened in that fight? One of the, not just didn't cash, not just wrong, again, back to the catching yellows instead of reds. It was a classic just Dan Tom, right? I am on the wrong end of all these fucking, all the weirdest performances, even the weirdest winning performances. Oh, Dan Tom will be on those too. Sure the fuck enough, and it'll cost me money. Take the ITD and not the sub. Price is similar. Smart advice. Is that for Stoliarenko? Yeah, smart advice. Most houses don't that I play don't offer it, unfortunately, so I have to choose Parker. But if you do, I agree. EV is not, in my honest opinion. That's not bad advice there. Kicking for coverage, smart man, don't get too greedy, is a lot of that message there is what Liam's saying, if I dare to speak for a guy who's doing much better than me as far as that eye for the gambling out there. Shouts to Liam. Zane Dale, ITD is plus 125 for Dolidze bet online. I would take that because I'm holding out for a better number, but the one place I have Dolidze by sub is plus 125. So you can get the same price for better coverage. It's a no-brainer. Take the ITD. That is better. Nick Wilson, that's an insane split. No way is there such a huge gap between ITD and sub. Yeah, take the ITD is more realistic unless you really did find that insane number by sub. I won't tell you different, and hopefully you won't have the luck I do. All right, I am going to recap here, folks. Plus 225, not plus 125. Yeah, I would still take the inside the distance. All right, recap. Oh, stinky man's farting boy over here. Speaking of dogs, all right. Taking Dolidze over Imavov. Taking Moicano over Dober. Taking Rude Boy, Hot Stepper Brown over Muslim-Salikhov. Probably taking Silva over Arauuuuuujo, but not going to try to bet that fight. Taking CHUBIB, Chubby Khabib. Come on, folks, let's get the CHUBIB started. Taking Elias Cab, CHUBIB, Kizriev over Muradov. We'll see. I'll probably take Urbina over Radke. Check me on fight day. I might take Belbita over McCann, but if I take McCann over Belbita, I probably won't be betting her. Check me at Dan Tom MMA on fight day. Probably be taking on Maxim over Charles Johnson, but I do not bet Charles Johnson fights. Fuck betting Charles Johnson fights. I'll probably take Gorimbo over Pistol Pete, but I definitely ain't betting the chalk in that fight. Chalk side of it. I'm leaning toward Lee over Bilder, but that fight scares me in general. Check me on fight day. Taking Stoliarenko over Carolina. See where I end up. If I can get a good inside the distance price, maybe I play that. But for my round robins, I can't play inside the distances in those houses alone, much less in the round robin. So I'm going to have to choose, Parker. So don't be surprised to see the Stoliarenko sub in the round robin. We'll see where I end up with Quinones and Mederos. I don't even know which way I'm leaning on that one, to be honest. Check me on fight day at Dan Tom MMA. Leaning toward Pogues over Thomas Jefferson Peterson, but check me on fight day. Because, let's see what I end up, see if I end up taking any action. It'll probably just end up being a pick and Pogues, if anything, on Top Master at the very least. But yeah, we'll see there. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, because I went off best fight odds and they're all fucked up. As far as my plays go, I got Moicano round 2 plus 650 quarter unit. Moicano Dober under 1.5 rounds minus 130 1.3 units. I'm going to be looking at Rude Boy Brown by submission, both for a standalone sprinkle as well as the round robin. Going to be looking at CHUBIB in round 2, as well as CHUBIB by sub in the round robin. I'm going to be looking at Stoliarenko by sub in the round robin, as well as Stoliarenko inside or by sub straight up. I might look closer to Belbita McCann to see how live that dog is. Again, I'm going to see how live the Pogues dog is. If I want to throw some kind of round robin sprinkle or, God forbid, something on Pogues, I don't know. God, that would be fucking terrible. You know it's bad when I'm scraping that low on the barrel. And nothing else, even on the prelims, kind of catches my eye. Again, maybe Dolidze by sub if I want to throw something in the round robin to have something, but I'm not looking forward to betting that fight. And yeah, it's maybe going to be the biggest straight bet. Will probably end up being that total, which is an under. I hate totals. I hate unders. And I'm on a bad luck streak, as the shirt says. Let's see if we can break it. Let's see if this variance thing y'all speak of can come our way. Let's see if this good bounces y'all speak of can come our way. We could use it. I put out a challenge to the MMA gods. If I can't win, because you know what? I was able to break the first bet of the night curse. But one thing I haven't been able to do is win 2 things in a row. If I have, it was like 0.05 units and like a 1.4 unit win, like Dan Tom jerk-off gif, like bullshit, right? And then followed by like reverse sweep, like that was the kind of shit. Like, no, I need 2, not just winning nights, 2 good winning nights. And even though everything's bad and I could be down on it, no, we're fucking doing it. And I'm putting this show on the line. So close to 400 episodes, too. Like, even if I did quit this show, I want to at least get to 400 episodes. And I'm almost putting it on the line before then. I still make it to 400. Don't worry, folks. I'll still stick around in some capacity. But, boy, I might have to take an extended vacation. It's 3 weeks, but I won't be able to really feel the winnings off that third card, because the third card will be happening, UFC 298, while I am en route to Thailand. So for me, I'm actually playing for these next 2 fight night cards to get a little extra cash in my pocket. And yeah, I put that juju out there. Because why the fuck not, folks? I could sit here and you know, go on multiple fucking years of trying to be an air quote good guy, both genuinely and trying to put the bad karma, trying to do the right thing, trying not to be a hypocritical asshole. It doesn't matter, folks. Fuck it. We're going for it. We're doing what we're always doing. I'll try a different betting style or this or that. I'm going to be taking advice from my guys at the Olympic Fights of the World. I'm always open to advice, but I've been around doing this for so long, and it's really hard to, I don't want to make the same mistake like the bad winners, because again, say what you will about me being a bad loser or bad losers. I'll take a bad loser any day over a fucking bad winner. Nothing worse than a bad winner. And I don't want to make their same mistake as being like not taking any lessons, but at the same time, when you play with the formula as much as I have and all different strategies of betting, because you can't aim. I saw someone going aim small, miss small. I'm like, this isn't the Marine Corps shooting program, okay? That applies for that, not for MMA betting, It's actually you aim small and miss big, right? Or you aim big and miss big, because you can aim small. Like if I would have just aimed small and been like, oh, kept it to 1 bet last card. Well, that 1 bet would have been still fucking my most biggest bet, and for all the justified reasons, and now the analysis was still proved even being a wrong bet. Still would have ate shit. Still would have been reverse sweeped, right? Still would have been a big loss. Still would have been a crucial loss, right? So the aim small miss bullshit doesn't exist. And for the longest time, I actually was way more conservative, and now I'm aiming big, so at least I can get something, right? And oddly enough, statistically, you should be getting reverse swept less with a wider casting net. Yet, my reverse sweeps have gone more. So like, I'm not even bad luck, subjective biases, but no, hardcore factual numerical math, the art of numbers. It literally, my luck flies in the face of that shit. Forget my perspective and complaints. Literally going against the odds, It's crazy, you could have a bag of 8 items and you could say maybe I want not just one of those items. There's 2 or 3 of the items that I could pull and I'll be happy. You bet your ass, not just on the first, it will be on the very last ones that I'll reach in until I finally get those things. It's just one of those things. And I go, every time that happens to me, I go, oh yeah, this is what I talk about. It's the circumstantial luck. So we'll see. We're going to try to break it, folks. Good luck to you and your picks and plays. Sorry for all the case by case always. Yep, it's always case by case. Absolutely, sir. So yeah, I mean that's what I do here too. Just go case by case. We'll see, and we'll wish for the best. I don't know what to say, folks. I don't know what to say when I'm getting so close and missing yet so big. It's pretty comical at this point. So we'll see. I know you guys are rooting for me. I appreciate it. I'm rooting for you. Good luck on your picks and plays. Don't get greedy. Don't be a bad winner. Fuck the IDF. And always protect your neck.